Get ready for a show with machines blown right out of proportion. Tonight, the greatest ever gets up close and quite personal with the biggest and most powerful pieces of equipment the world has ever seen.
It's like power personified.
It's not just the size of a house, it's the size of an office block.
But we won't just look at them, we'll test them. We'll use them as crushers, and we'll even shoot at them. All for us to identify the greatest ever diggers.
They're absolutely fascinating. They're engineering marvels. They're absolutely superb.
We traveled the world and brought together a panel of experts to help us with the task. Their job isn't going to be easy, but it's certainly going to be fun.
Even though the task seems larger than the machines themselves, let's get to it right now.
Wasting no time, we begin our countdown with the world's biggest land machine, the Bagger 293.
The Bagger 293 is a bucket wheel excavator. It's the size of an ocean liner on land.
It's kind of an abstract type of machine. It actually kind of looks like a small mobile city with a giant buzzsaw attached to the front end.
Bagger 293 is in the Guinness Book of World Records because it's the biggest land-bound machine ever.
This German giant weighs in at a whopping 13 million kilos. It's over 210 meters long and 90 meters tall and works in the coal mines of northern Germany.
What sets the 293 apart from the other machines is the sheer size of it. I mean, this machine can produce up to 12 tons of material. It's spitting out 10 mid-sized cars in a second.
The Bagger has 18 massive buckets, all working 24/7 on a 22-meter diameter wheel. Each bucket can pick up 7,000 kilograms of coal in one scoop. This machine is designed around pure power and has one purpose: to dig. Unlike most excavators, the Bagger doesn't just dig and load trucks. It has its own unique conveyor belt system.
It is far cheaper to convey material than to truck it. A truck weighs about as much as it carries, whereas a conveyor weighs a lot less in comparison to what it can produce and can carry.
The Bagger 293 feeds almost 50 kilometers of conveyor belts at the Hambach mine. The coal is then put onto trains and sent to power stations across Germany.
The coal is used for power stations. We produce yearly about 40 million tons of coal, and about 30 million go for energy into power stations.
Bagger 293 is powered by 20,000 kilowatts, enough electricity to run a small city. It draws its juice directly from the power plants it supplies. Although this giant extracts enough coal to power 300,000 homes daily, it's run by a very small team.
On this excavator, only 5 people are working, and with these 5 people in 3 shifts, that means 15 people around the clock, we produce this high capacity.
This may be a small crew, but they have to be fit. The Bagger has 5 levels, 2,500 steps, and walkways totaling over 3 kilometers. It's not unusual for the team to walk up to 10 kilometers a shift.
I think there are not that many postmen in normal towns which have to walk that long per day.
Bucket wheel excavators like the 293 are built to work specifically in only one location. But these machines are so good that it's not unusual for them to clear an entire coalfield, forcing them to move on and graze elsewhere. However, they move at only 50 meters per hour, so this is easier said than done. Hundreds of people have to be mobilized, and the operation can sometimes take months, if not years.
Bucket wheel excavator is, under certain conditions, the most productive way to extract huge masses of material.
This machine, the Bagger 293 bucket wheel excavator, is the biggest earth mover in the world. But with earth movers, bigger doesn't always necessarily mean better.
They definitely have the size, they've got the weight, they've got the productivity, but they're somewhat isolated.
Other machines are more flexible, more versatile. You can move them around, you can do slightly different jobs with them. But with a bucket wheel, it does one job, and that's what it does. It will not do anything else.
The size and the productivity of the 293 make it the king of the diggers in terms of mass. But because of its sheer cost and lack of mobility, the bagger only gets to number 10 on our list. We've got 9 more diggers still to come, including the machine that helped launch man into space. The countdown of the greatest ever diggers began on a massive note with the bagger, and we're staying in Germany for number 9. Diving deep underground, here's the Gabby 1 tunnel boring machine.
All the other machines work on the surface of the Earth. Now, to actually go under the Earth is a total different ballgame.
At number 10 was the world's largest. Next up is the longest machine on Earth. Gabby 1 is state-of-the-art and is working on a very special project.
The Gabby 1 is working in the Gotthard project in Switzerland. It's not the biggest machine ever built, but it's maybe the most sophisticated because it's a system about 440 meters in length and 9.58 diameters in width.
This machine has a massive task: to cut through 90 kilometers of solid granite, probably the hardest rock on the planet. It will take 6 years for Gabby 1 to inch its way through and burrow a tunnel that's almost double the length of the Channel Tunnel. The completed project will allow trains to travel at speeds of up to 250 kilometers per hour, deep under Switzerland's picturesque Gotthard Pass.
The whole system weighs about 3,200 tons. It is propulsed by 10 single motors and has a performance of 5,000 horses. So what you have under the earth there is not just a drilling machine, but it's a really powerful construction system.
Gabby 1 is the most technologically advanced boring machine in the world. Its cutting head, located right at the front, is made up of 67 steel disc cutters, constructed from a top-secret combination of tungsten carbide and ultra-hard steel. These cutters slice through the rock, and the rotating movement of the head pushes the waste through the machine and onto a conveyor belt.
This machine is capable to move 10 meters per day in average. And in good condition, it moves 40 meters.
They're spectacular machines. And Gabby is no exception to that. It has one of the most demanding jobs of any of the tunnel boring machines to date. And yes, it is special.
Gabby 1 is digging a tunnel that would have been impossible only a few years ago. This is the Herrenknecht factory in Schwonau, southern Germany, the birthplace of Gabby 1, where ultra-hard steel components and state-of-the-art technology made this project possible.
It's a mixture of different things, integrating nearly everything which is nowadays technical on the market, from the hydraulics to computerized controls, steering technology. All these things come together in these machines, because basically up-to-date TBM is more or less, meanwhile, an underground factory for building a tunnel.
The other way of tunnelling is essentially to have people with blasting and drills rather than a machine which rotates and cuts a tube out, which this does. It's better than that because you don't need explosives and you also don't put human beings at risk. So it's a better type of machine, and this particular one is obviously the latest state-of-the-art of that type compared to other methods of tunnelling.
The benefits of a tunnel boring machine like the Gabby 1 are numerous, but there are also disadvantages.
The tunnel boring machine is a system, and systems are, of course, not that flexible as single machines like excavators, for example.
You can't just make a standard machine that'll go through any type of rock or any type of strata. You've got to design and build one for that particular job. So that's a disadvantage. So each one is a limited machine for a limited purpose. So in that sense, you could compare it to other ones which are much more versatile machines in this movie.
This machine may be presently rewriting the history books, but as mass production is too expensive and inefficient, Gabby 1 only stands at number 9 on our top 10 list. Number 8 on our list of the greatest ever diggers, a machine with one massive appetite, the Silver Spade.
The shovel kind of reminds me of this like a large dinosaur, grazing on overburden in a coal mine.
This mechanical dinosaur is over 60 meters tall and weighs an incredible 6.4 million kilos.
It's great because it's lasted so long. Show me a car that'll last 30, 40 years and be used 24 hours a day and 7 days a week.
In its 40 years of hard labor at the Mahoning Valley Mine in Ohio, the Silver Spade has moved over 9 billion kilos of rock, the equivalent of a mountain 1.5 kilometers high and a whopping 300 meters wide.
It was probably one of the first super machines ever built. If there was a Hall of Fame for stripping shovels, it's a candidate to be in the Hall of Fame.
This super machine has fans across the world, and its influence has even reached to the moon.
The 8 crawlers mounted on 4 corners was the basic inspiration of the crawler transporters currently in use at Kennedy Space Center. Literally, stripping shovel technology was used to build these transporters for man's quest of space.
The huge 6-meter wide, 6-meter deep bucket hits the digging face with a force of 500,000 kilos and can eat up over 150,000 kilos of earth in a single sitting.
It's very spectacular to watch the bucket going up the bank with the dust coming from the rock caused by the teeth. To me, that's the most spectacular of all earth-moving machines.
The stripping shovel strips. It doesn't load, as it would crush any truck it tried to fill. It simply strips the earth to one side to expose the coal seams below. Its awesome power is down to an ingenious system based on, of all things, the human leg.
It was first of 2 only built by Bucyrus that had a thing called a knee action crowd, which is the mechanism which actually holds the bucket that it digs by.
On the Silver Spade, the part of the machine that actually holds the bucket, the dipper handle, acts like a human knee and swings backward and forward. The mechanical knee only hits the digging face at 8 kilometers per hour, but exerts a massive force. The Spade has an incredible 1.5 million kilos of ballast just to stop it from falling over. But despite its colossal size and weight, it's a very simple machine to operate.
You have swing pedals on your feet, a left swing and a right swing. We have a controller in each hand, a crowd and retract controller in our left hand, and a hoist controller in our right hand. And they are all electrically controlled. It moves very, very easy. You feel like you have a lot of power in your hands at times, a lot of power.
Tom may have all the power, but he doesn't work on his own. The Silver Spade has an oiler continuously lubricating its parts. Without the oiler, the machine would seize up, as it has 700,000 separate parts. The crawler tracks alone require 23,000 liters of oil to move smoothly, and because of its age, this veteran of the coalface needs regular checkups, as well as constant care.
We check the bucket prior to each shift, make sure that we don't have any missing dipper teeth or any tooth bases cracked, and the condition of the door and so forth.
The most dangerous part of this daily inspection is climbing the 60-meter high boom.
When you ascend on our boom, you make absolutely sure of your footing and your handholds to make sure that you don't slip. And it can be overwhelming at times to look down, straight down at how far you are. It's quite an experience to be up there. It is a good exercise. In fact, I used to take a lot of pride in how fast I could get up there. That probably wasn't the right approach to take, but as you get a little older, you need to rest a time or two before you get to stop.
The magnificent Silver Spade is the last of a breed. Stripping shovels are being phased out and replaced by machines that can cope better with deeper deposits.
The disadvantage of this type of machine is that it is quite restricted when it comes to its working area.
These machines are nice, but they're almost dinosaurs. And the Silver Spade is last of its kind. I'd not have it in the top 10 compared with the other machines. It's old.
The Silver Spade will continue to strip coal until it's too expensive to fix.
If the machine would cease operations, I would probably take retirement. I don't see myself going to any other machines or anything like that. I feel like I've reached the pinnacle with this machine.
The Silver Spade has proved its worth over the decades, but because it is a machine that belongs in the past, it's stuck at number 8. At number 7, the world's most powerful and biggest scraper. The Caterpillar 657E.
The line has been around almost as long as haul trucks and bulldozers. They're like the elder statesmen in our top 10 list.
657 is the biggest scraper around at the moment. And compared with previous scrapers, it's just that much more reliable because it's got new engines, it's got new control technologies.
This is a rather nice, clever, very useful machine.
It's like power personified because it's right there. You can reach out and touch it.
The secret behind the power of this particular scraper? 2 engines, one in the front, one in the back, simultaneously pulling and pushing the machine, a combined total of almost 1,000 horsepower.
It's a bit like a piece of toast and butter, you know. Put a bit too much butter on, so you scrape it off. In other words, it's the scraping motion. It's taking a scraping of the earth off, transporting it, and putting it down as a layer somewhere else.
This machine doesn't just scrape, it's much more versatile. It also digs, loads, carries, and dumps huge amounts of earth without the assistance of any other machines.
Scraper's very, very efficient machine for moving dirt over a short distance. Now, if you're building a road, building a dam or something like that, you want to move dirt from here to there. Scraper's going to do it, and it's going to do it very efficiently.
The world's most powerful scraper may be about pure brute force, but the secret of its digging power resides in its reinforced steel blade, or cutting edge. This cutting edge can last anywhere from 400 to 500 working hours before it has to be replaced.
The cutting edge is the bottom part of the bowl. It's the part that actually goes into the ground. When the bowl is lowered into the ground, the cutting edge is the leading edge of the scraper that goes into the material and forces the material up into the bowl. The blade is about 2.5 inches thick. This doesn't have to be sharp. The sheer force of the machine will load the machine with no problem at all.
When digging conditions are too difficult for a single scraper, the 657E buddies up with another machine in what is known as a push-pull operation. The scrapers simply hook bales and, believe it or not, one pushes while the other pulls.
You come to the job in the morning, you come back in the afternoon, and the landscape has totally changed. It's absolutely phenomenal what these machines will do.
Scrapers have worked non-stop since 1922 and have even seen action in numerous wars. With their speed and maneuverability, they're perfect for the construction of roads, ramps, and landing strips. In Vietnam, the scraper found a rather more unusual role.
I was 18 years old, wet behind the ears, and one night we were done moving dirt for the day, and could hear some shooting going on somewhere nearby, not too far away, and I got my curiosity up.
The year, 1968. Philip Ory and a colleague got in their machines and headed for the source of the gunfight. There, they found a platoon under fire. They loaded the men into the bowl portion of the scraper, protected by the thick metal sides, and got the men out safely whilst under enemy fire.
I ended up being in the right place at the right time with a land scraper of all things, and was able to get these guys out of danger. And that's just something that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life.
Inside plate is like armor plate.
The thick steel construction of the scraper saved the soldiers' lives and made Philip Ory a hero. But was it luck, poor marksmanship, or the scraper's tank-like hull that got everyone out safely? The greatest ever set out to find the answer.
It's blocked ammunition. Oh, okay.
It's armor-piercing shell.
Ready, Kevin?
A marksman using an AK-47 rifle with armor-piercing bullets will put a section of the scraper's side to the test. These bullets are designed to go through armored personnel carriers and tanks.
I'd hate to have been on the receiving end of that one.
Well, you either hit it or scared it real bad because it fell down.
I don't know. The one you were shooting at over in Vietnam, that was painted green. That may have had a difference. Ooh, nice clean hole.
Yeah, let's flip it over and see if it went right through. Not even a mark. Not even a dent.
Wow.
Okay.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Built bigger and better than the scraper Ori used in Vietnam, the 657E is without doubt the all-time scraper champion, but its uses are extremely limited.
I wouldn't put the scraper in general high up on the list, simply because it is a relatively simple machine. It's not as sophisticated or as complex as some of the other machines in the list.
Fast and powerful, the 657E removes great amounts of soil. However, as scrapers were designed for digging a few meters deep and moving only soft material like sand and gravel, it's the number 7 on our list of the greatest ever diggers. Our next digger is all about mobility and flexibility. Number 6, the Letourneau L2350 wheel loader.
The great thing about the L2350 is it's the ultimate four-wheel drive. Forget Hummers, they're toys. If you want a four-wheel drive, the L2350 is the one.
A wheel loader is essentially a machine on 4 wheels with an engine and a driver's cab, and at the front of it, a bucket. This particular wheel loader is designed to work in very large mines.
The Letourneau wheel loaders are one of mining industry's kind of jack of all trades, with a kind of a top speed right around 11 miles per hour, slow by automotive standards, but pretty fast for earth-moving machines. It can get there faster, get the job done, and go off and do something else.
This four-wheel drive mammoth is all about raw power. It can lift loads of 73,000 kilos, the equivalent in weight of 30 cars, to heights of 8 meters, and fill a 240-ton truck in less than 1 minute. This is all made possible by a unique design feature.
The L2350 is articulated. That is, the wheels don't actually steer, it's the frame that steers. It pivots.
Being articulated means the loader can turn on a short radius, allowing it to do its job much quicker. Each tire measures close to 4 meters, weighs 7,000 kilos, and has a load capacity of 150 tons. With a 16-centimeter thickness, there's enough steel and rubber in each of these wheels to make 700 car tires. And to avoid overheating, the tires are all filled with nitrogen, a gas unlike air, that remains cool under tremendous pressures and extreme friction.
The tires on the L2350 were a big challenge. They weren't available at the time. Firestone actually built these and designed them specifically for the L2350. I think everyone was surprised that the tires have done as well as they have. This L2350's been in operation for about 3 years now. They've been through at least 3 sets of tires, and at a cost of about $60,000 a tire, but that cost is offset by the increased production due to the size of the loader. So it's a pretty good trade-off.
The versatile and mobile L2350 is without a doubt the best digger on the market today.
If you're a multimillionaire with a large plot of land and you want to build an Olympic-sized swimming pool, the L2350 is a machine to go for.
But if you're not after a big pool, there are drawbacks.
The disadvantage is, though, that it can only take material that is of a certain looseness. It can't go into solid rock unless it's blasted and so on. The other disadvantage would be, of course, that it's on rubber wheels. And you can only, unlike Caterpillar tracks, you can only run the machines in certain conditions of ground.
Because of the cost of the tires and lack of adaptability, this giant of the digging fraternity is stuck at number 6. We're halfway through our greatest ever countdown. So far, we've had the world's biggest and the world's longest. But still to come, a machine that is afraid of nothing. We've seen 5 machines that are all world champions in their respective categories, and there are still 5 more to go before we find out the greatest ever. We continue our countdown with the newest and most modern machine on our list, number 5. The Bucyrus 8200 walking dragline, aka Liberty.
It's a relatively simple thing that does a fantastically large, significant job. If the conditions are fine, very cheaply. It's one of the cheapest forms of earth moving.
Liberty is big. It's got a 355-foot boom, and it hangs a 77 cubic yard bucket on the end of that. It's big. You wouldn't want to run it over your foot.
I see tremendous grace when I see that bucket going out and coming back. I mean, I almost see a fisherman casting a line. I see an extraordinary grace for a machine that's 6 and 7 stories tall, going out and pulling dirt back and dumping it 200 yards from the point of dig to the point of dump. I think it's extraordinary. It's like a mascot for North Dakota.
Liberty can move 115,000 kilos of earth over a distance of 180 meters in less than 60 seconds. And the way it does it couldn't be more simple.
A dragline works by having a bucket on the end of a steel rope, which goes to the top of a boom or jib. Then it uses a drag rope to pull the bucket up a slope and fill it. The engineering that goes onto them is absolutely amazing. And then, although the actual concept is rather simple, it's very clever.
Simple and efficient. This walking dragline is perfect for coal mining and has been a boon at the Center Mine in North Dakota.
Here, most of the electricity is generated by lignite coal. The dragline actually uncovers the overburden or the dirt that's above the coal, and in our operation that can vary anywhere from 30 feet up to 100 feet of dirt over the coal seams. So the dragline, the 8200, the Liberty dragline, is part of the whole process. In fact, it's the beginning of the process.
Draglines come in all sizes, and what makes Liberty one of the most unique of this breed is that it actually walks.
Liberty is what's called a walking dragline. It has a tub, and it literally drags itself as it moves, as opposed to a track machine.
The reason that Liberty is a walking machine rather than one on tracks is because of the sheer weight of the machine. Liberty weighs 9 million pounds, and to get that kind of weight spread out over tracks is physically impossible to do, and so the dragline designers decided to set the machine on a large round disc called a tub, and then to move it, they designed this walking system.
A walking dragline doesn't really walk, it hops. It's like a kangaroo, it hops. It goes backwards. The cams come round, the feet drop down, and then it lifts itself up at an angle on the edge of this tub. That slides back and drops down, and the feet come round on the cams and so on. They should be called hopping draglines, but it would sound a bit odd, I think.
The principles behind Liberty are simple, but this animal is loaded with state-of-the-art technology.
The potential for technology on this machine is just starting to be explored. The dragline world has entered the information age, and through the remote diagnostic system, we can get technical support from any place in the world, and it is incredible.
Compared with the other draglines, it's a quantum leap in design and technology.
Liberty is certainly technologically advanced and exceptionally powerful, but its appeal is not universal.
The weak points of walking dragline is that they are limited in their application. You don't see walking draglines putting sewers in the street, for example. You won't have a street left.
Liberty does the job in North Dakota, but has little use elsewhere. And due to its size and weight, this walking dragline can only operate in certain ideal conditions. For that reason, it sits at number 5. Our fourth greatest ever digger has taken mining technology to a new level. A monster of disproportionate dimensions. Here is the Terex RH400 hydraulic excavator.
It's the biggest machine of its type. Nobody else has built anything as big or as powerful as that. The Terex RH400 is a pioneer. It's pushed the boundaries of technology.
The RH400 is certainly the most modern machine, using modern hydraulics and controls.
Terex, one of the world leaders in ultra-large mining hydraulic excavators, designed and built this machine so it could lift a staggering 85,000 kilos of earth in a single scoop. That's like lifting 20 elephants.
It takes, giant bites out of the face of the earth. It's fantastic.
The RH400 works in one of the most inhospitable regions on the planet, the Alberta oil sands in northwest Canada, and was designed specifically for that area.
It's a very difficult material to dig. It changes its consistency between the seasons. In the wintertime, it tends to break out into big pieces. That's difficult for the machine to handle. And the summertime, the oil sand is like a putty. And it's a very heavy push all the way through for the bucket to penetrate into the material.
The key to this oil sand busting machine is its huge bucket and strong arms, powered by the digging world's largest hydraulic system.
The RH400 is a hydraulic excavator, meaning it uses the power of hydraulic fluid, fluid power, if you will, as opposed to a cable shovel, which uses cable or wire rope.
Hydraulic systems allow machines like the RH400 to lift heavy loads by applying pressure to a small piston and transmitting fluid to the larger piston, therefore increasing the force in the most economic way.
The science of hydraulics is a very complicated thing, but I'm going to try and demonstrate it quite simply today. Here, we're going to show very simply how it produces a linear form of movement by simply creating pressure at one end and transmitting that via the fluid, the liquid, to a cylinder there, which at the end of the cylinder creates the movement. So if I press here, I'm putting pressure on there, and that's being transmitted right down the tube, and there's the movement at the end, which could work a machine or whatever.
Generally, the more hydraulic pressure a machine has, the more power it has. And the hydraulic pumps of the RH400 set a new record for excavators. It can load one of the world's biggest trucks with only 4 scoops.
You could compare the RH400 machine to a living entity. When you look at the life fluid as being the hydraulic oil, the heart of the hydraulic system would be the hydraulic pumps. There's 8 main pumps on the RH400, producing about 920 liters a minute. So it gives you a total flow or circulation of oil of about 7,500 liters a minute to move the bucket and boom attachment.
Hydraulics is one thing, but the RH400 has a lot more to brag about.
It's also very mobile compared to a lot of other machines. If it has to move to another part of the mine, there are hydraulic motors that work the tracks, and they are relatively efficient and fast.
This beast of a machine runs on massive tracks. Each one of its 96 links weighs over 1,000 kilos, bringing the total weight of the machine to a whopping 1 million kilos. However, the rules of physics suggest this kind of weight and unpredictable surfaces shouldn't actually work, and the RH400 should sink. The oil sands are like quicksand in the summer, but the RH400 doesn't sink, as its tracks self-regulate their tension according to ground conditions.
We're using the largest components on the RH400 for pumps and valves and hoses and engines. We're on the cutting edge of the technologies, and it's difficult to go any further with it.
Its disadvantage is that the hydraulics work under very high pressure, so therefore extreme safety precautions have to be taken whenever working on the maintenance of the machine.
The RH400 can sometimes do the impossible, but it isn't the most practical machine due to its immense size. Its hydraulic system is the world's most powerful, but it's also the world's most complicated and dangerous to service. For these reasons, this digger is bogged down at number 4. The countdown continues, from the world's most powerful to the world's largest. Standing at number 3, the Komatsu D575A3 Super Dozer. This is no ordinary bulldozer. With a blade the size of a 3-car garage, this is the sumo champion of all earth movers.
You know what a bulldozer is. Something with tracks with a big blade that pushes dirt. But, you know, there's bulldozers and then there's super dozers.
It's not one of the small dozers you see in construction sites. It's 10 times the size of those.
With a 1,150 horsepower turbocharged after-cooled engine, this bulldozer can push 227,000 kilos of earth with every shove.
Watching a super dozer in action with that massive wall of steel is really a treat.
This thing is fantastic. It's John Wayne, you know, bring on the Marines kind of thing. It's a big deal.
Usually, a bulldozer just pushes dirt. This Komatsu dozer, with a unique blade design that tilts, can also scoop up dirt and almost float it over the ground.
And the reason that's a good idea is you're not now pushing against the ground and you don't have a lot of resistance. You're not trying to roll the dirt. It's an incredibly efficient machine and it does its job very well.
There are only 45 of these beasts operating in the world. They're normally found in the larger mines of America, Canada, and Australia, where long, straight pushes are the name of the game.
It definitely improved the production on our mines. You can do so much more work with basically one operator, and that's what makes it feasible to have the machine.
This machine isn't just about productivity, it's also about comfort.
What we were trying to do is keep the track on the ground. Whenever the track is off the ground and slams back into the ground, you get shock up to the operator.
The undercarriage of the Super Dozer follows the contour of the ground with independent seesaw-like movements. And to further decrease vibration, rubber shock absorbers were added, giving this machine the best traction of any dozer on the market. A smooth ride over rough terrain may be guaranteed by Komatsu, but what about big objects in its path? The greatest ever pitted the D575A3 against a pickup truck.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty silly idea. That would definitely fall into the unapproved application format of a D575.
Bulldozers take advantage of their weight when dozing. As the heavier the machine, the more traction it has to push heavy loads. This Super Dozer weighs 150,000 kilos. And although it exerts only 26 kilos of ground pressure per square centimeter, its massive overall weight quickly and effortlessly turns the truck into roadkill. That's one way to measure the weight of this machine, but how about its power? We've seen how a Super Dozer can go over almost anything. But ever wondered how a mobile home would stand up to a pressing from a dozer? No, neither did we, until we were given not one, but 2 Super Dozers. This is about sheer brute force. That's 14 meters of trailer crushed by the combined 23,000 horsepower of 2 Super Dozers in a little less than 13 seconds.
I think the trailer crushed a little bit quicker than I thought it would. It was only a matter of seconds before it was gone. I think if you compare a D575 A-3 to a Hurricane, the winner has to be the Dozer.
These are the big guns. This is for the big leagues.
The D575's weight, size, and power make it the perfect piece of equipment for large mining operations, but they also limit its use.
I think this is probably the largest bulldozer that we'll see in quite some time. To go to a larger machine would require a lot more cost, and it just doesn't work out in dollars and cents.
There are Not so many operations of the size to use the Komatsu D575.
This Komatsu Super Dozer is the ultimate machine if you want to push large loads of dirt in a short time. But for longer distances, it's a waste of power. And while it's able to crush and destroy almost everything in its path, it can only move at 16 kilometers per hour. For these reasons, the Super Dozer is buried at number 3 on our list. Before finally revealing the greatest digger, here's a giant that is the cornerstone of almost all mining operations. Standing at number 2, the Liebherr T282B haul truck.
The T82 with its edges, which is enormous tires, with its big radiator, it doesn't hide its power, it is just pure macho.
Mining kept saying they wanted bigger, they wanted better, they wanted faster. The T282B does it.
It's the biggest dump truck there is. It's not just the size of a house, it's the size of an office block. And it's an office block that'll do 40 miles an hour. When it drives past you, the earth shakes. It's fantastic.
The T282B has an engine weighing a whopping 9,000 kilos, burns 5,500 litres of diesel a day, and does 13 litres to the kilometre. That's 13 litres to the kilometre.
It's unique because it's diesel-electric drive, unlike some other trucks which are mechanical drive. An electric drive truck is simple in that it uses very few rotating parts as opposed to rotating drive lines and transmissions and various components like that.
Moving this giant forward is one thing, stopping it is another, especially as this truck doesn't have conventional brakes. This monster relies on its electric motors to slow it down. The motors work like in a normal car, where changing gear from third to second slows it down. Keeping this 800-ton beast under control needs more than brakes. It requires a very special touch.
I'm not really sure why there's so many female drivers out here. It's been said that women drive them better. We don't make any comparisons between the men and the women here. We all drive the trucks. First time I ever sat in the driver's seat of one of those, it was pretty intimidating. But after about 2 weeks or so, you get into the flow of driving them and you get used to the size of them, and then you don't really notice how big they are compared to the rest of them. When you're operating something this large, you get used to the fact that there's a lot of smaller pieces of equipment, smaller vehicles around you. I never thought I would be able to do it or never even considered trying it, but it's fun. It makes me more confident in myself. Honestly, after being taught how to drive these, I feel like I can do anything.
No matter how many times you see it, there's still a feeling that how can something as big as this be able to move around at 40 miles an hour? It's the same kind of feeling you get when you see a 747 that weighs 250 tons actually taking off. The feeling is the same.
They are designed to move material quickly. So the fastest they can get between that shovel and that crusher, the better. And obviously the more they can carry. So that's the whole point of doing a large, fast haul truck.
It's more than just a dump truck. It's almost like a armored car, in a way. When you see that big pile in the back of a haul truck, drive off with it. It's kind of like money in the bank.
Although the T282B is the biggest and best at what it does, it still needs a loader to fill it up. For that reason, it stands at number 2 on our list. Coming up, our number 1, the greatest ever digger. And in this world of big, bigger, and biggest, you may be surprised by the size of our champion. We've all seen machines that either dig, scrape, load, drag, push, or carry. So far, it's been all about raw power. But our number 1 is about to radically change things as it does it all. After 9 earth-moving Goliaths, here's David, the incredibly small yet efficient JCB backhoe loader.
In many ways, the JCB reminds me of the common ant. Not the biggest, not the most powerful, but still one of nature's most versatile little excavators.
What's great about a backhoe loader is it's a jack of all trades. It's like a Swiss Army knife.
It's a popular machine, and it has transformed the way we actually work in a whole range of earth-moving things.
Although it's not the largest machine by any means, it is the most adaptable. It can do more different jobs than any of the other machines we have on our list.
1 out of every 4 backhoes is a JCB. And if you look at the Oxford English Dictionary, of course, the definition of, hydraulic digger is JCB.
JCB have sold over 325,000 machines on 5 continents since first hitting the world's building sites in 1952. The backhoe loader was born of the need for multiple functions from just one machine.
Really, a backhoe loader is versatility to the nth degree. You've got 3 pieces of construction equipment tied into one. First, you have a tractor. Next, you have a loader. You're the ability to move large amounts of material from point A to point B. And then really the main operating tool of the machine is going to be the back end. It's a small machine, but it's a very powerful machine. But the key to the backhoe loader is its versatility.
But JCB is not just about digging, drilling, or pushing. This machine is much more adaptable.
What sets JCB apart from the competitors is a host of unique applications. You can put in upwards of 500 attachments onto the backhoe loader, again, making the operator more productive because it's going to give him a more versatile machine.
I think certainly in engineering you've got to have the products right, and we fortunately had the right sort of product to do that with. And I guess
Sir Anthony Bamford is the older son of Joseph Cyril Bamford, the man whose initials, JCB, became the standard of quality for digging machines.
It's no good just having a well-engineered product. You've got to go out and sell it. And he actually did go out and sell it. I mean, he sold his very first product himself in the marketplace.
Joe's selling skills were evident when he began a great tradition of JCB stunts in the 1960s. He involved royalty at lavish presentations and even organized elaborate demonstrations performed to showcase the versatility of the machine.
It's all part of selling the sizzle, really, not selling the steak. You've got to make it interesting.
Reliability is very, very key for these items of equipment, and the 3CX backhoe loader stands up to all the abuse that the kids can throw at it.
Hugh Edelanu owns Diggerland, the world's first adventure park entirely dedicated to construction equipment.
I just love diggers myself. We do a lot of unusual things and fun things with JCB equipment. We have the world's fastest JCB that's road legal. Its top speed is a closely guarded secret. Suffice to say that it can overtake trucks on the highway without too much of a problem.
Hugh took 22 hours to cross the entire British Isles, and the record he holds is probably here to stay. For him, it's just another way to spend as much time as he can around the digger.
It's just awesome.
To demonstrate the JCB's adaptability and efficiency, the greatest ever has pitted our #1 machine against a rugby team. A world first, we think. The objective is simple. Dig a 1 meter wide, 1 meter deep, and 7 meter long ditch as fast as possible.
2, 1, go!
15 strapping, muscle-bound, beer-filled rugby players against the ant of the construction industry, the JCB backhoe loader. Surely it's no competition.
Keep it up, lads, come on!
Both teams start quickly, but with some deft flicks and a few cleverly placed scoops, the machine soon has the edge. A 1 meter deep trench proves to be a mere hindrance to a machine designed to dig as deep as 6 meters. Although in top physical shape, the men are no match for the machine. The hydraulic power of the backhoe does the job in 14 minutes and 56 seconds, leaving the rugby team trailing way behind.
Well, gentlemen,
I'm afraid modern technology has beaten the rugby team, but nevertheless.
We at JCB are honored to be considered #1 on the top 10 greatest earth movers of all time. I think the versatility of the machine has really allowed us to gain that stature. When you look at other pieces of construction equipment that are out there, I'd be willing to bet our machines have probably moved more earth than the other machines on your list.
It's been hijacked.
The backhoe loader is never the most efficient machine at doing any particular job. Its real success is that it'll do just about anything, and no other machine comes close in that respect.
Every site needs a JCB because there's always a small job to do. It can do 101 jobs.
It's not necessarily the biggest, the baddest, and the most powerful that come out on top. Sometimes it's the smallest and more versatile tool that comes in number one. That's why in our top 10 list of the world's greatest earth movers, JCB comes in number one.
So there you have it. The JCB is the greatest ever. Agree or disagree? The fact is that without these machines, life wouldn't be what it is today.